Artist Mindset Podcast, where we talk about personal development, psychology, preparing for the future, and so much more. Today, I have an amazing conversation to share with you. I just had the opportunity to speak with a man named Chance Pronschinske. Chance is 22 years old, and he is the top performing sales consultant at my company, Better Earth. And so I want to host him here today to share with you his story, sort of how he got started in solar with no previous experience and how he's absolutely dominating right now and what he does to do that. This is a really fascinating conversation. You know, I've done a lot of sales in the past, and to hear it from someone who is so young and so has the right mindset and has incredibly high goals for himself and high standards for himself, I think it's an inspiration. And there's a lot of takeaways for absolutely anybody at any stage of their career, sales or not. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know you will as well. It's a crazy story. So please, without further delay, enjoy this conversation with Chance Pronschinske. Hey, Chance, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Pat, I'm very, very excited. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So for the audience out there who maybe is not familiar with you and your work just yet, would you mind telling them a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point?
Yeah, so my name is Chance Pronschinske. I'm 22 years old. I just turned 22 in April. Ever since I've been really young, I've always just been a giant entrepreneur. I always knew that I never wanted to be in a corporate structure. I always wanted to be able to do something on my own. So growing up, I used to be buying and reselling cards, buying and reselling candy bars at garage sales, going to TJ Maxx, drop shipping, doing a lot of e-commerce. I've kind of done everything at a very, very young age, but I started a clothing company called Smile Big Clothing before I had the $200,000 of shoes in my room. And it really gained a lot of traction when I started getting into college. So I dropped out of school about a year and a half in. I wanted to be able to, of course, have capital to bring a lot of ideas that I previously had with the clothing company to life. And the one way to be able to do that was, one, have capital to be able to do it. And that's kind of anything with business. So I dropped out of school. My parents, I was the first one ever to drop out of school in my whole entire family. It was definitely something out of the normal, being from Wisconsin. And a lot of people were definitely thinking, what the heck is this kid doing? Just because no one does it where we're from, especially coming from having a dad as a teacher. My mom definitely got her degree as well. But I went to Sourcing at Magic. I had $4,000 in my bank account. And what Sourcing at Magic is it's a manufacturer trade show where you're looking at different materials. You're talking to a bunch of manufacturers overseas, going over designs, going over fabrics. And I spent all my money. And my mom was actually currently moving out of her place. And I was kind of stuck at her house because I didn't have a ride back from the airport. And I saw a 60-second video, we were supposed to submit a 60-second video saying why we were the right opportunity to join Better Earth. It was from Zane. And I was like, all right, screw it. Let's do it. I had a little bit of time to be able to do it. And I just knew I was a lot different. My story is a lot different than pretty much any 18-year-old, 19-year-old at the time. And I did it. So I got on an interview with Ty, and I was actually at Pebble Beach. And Ty, if anyone doesn't know, he's one of our co-founders here. He does a lot of stuff in the back end. He does a lot of our marketing. And we clicked right off the jump. We were both big golfers. My brother's always been a big golfer. He's head pro at a country club. And he started talking about the deal. And honestly, I didn't think it was true. I thought there was always going to be a catch to it. I kind of sound like a homeowner right now, but it was ridiculous. I always wanted a product that it's not a choice. It's not a vacuum cleaner. It's not a hot tub. I want to be able to help out everything. I want to help out the environment. I want to help them. And of course, I want to help myself out financially. So it checked all the boxes for me, and the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, I think 3x in growth with the clothing, and I started second guessing myself. And I was almost not going to be coming out. I hopped on one more call with Ty, and I just realized the only way that I can actually bring all these ideas to life is taking the leap and coming out to California. So I put my parents in a group chat. I said, hey guys, I'm moving out to California. I'm flying out in a week. I've always just had the personality where I just live in the present and make decisions as I go. I'm not a really big thinker. If I believe in something, I'm just going to commit to it and stick with it. So I came out to Better Earth. And ever since that, it really has been an adventure, but it's been incredible.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I want you to touch on a couple of those things because, I think for a lot of people, they myself included, when you're in those like later years in high school, you sort of, you get like herded into going to college. Like it's not for
Right.
me, there was never the question of like, are you going to go to college or not? It was what college you're going to go to. And I always found that
Exactly.
like a little intrusive because it's like, hey, like, how do we even know this is really the best course of action? But similar to you, I also have parents that are teachers. And so when I told them I was dropping out, it was, a interesting experience to say the least. But what was that like for
Yeah.
you for, like to make that decision at that age? I think can be challenging and quite daunting. What would you say to other people who are sort of in a similar situation trying to decide if school is the right thing for them?
Yeah. It really does come down to just trusting your gut and going with your heart. If you know that you are a lot different and you don't want to be the same as 100,000 students that are getting that same exact thing, getting that same exact degree, and you know that you don't want to be told when to go to the bathroom or have a 9 to 5, when to work, when to take days off, and you have like that hungry, you're really persistent. I definitely think it's definitely worth, of course, taking the leap. The one thing that I always realized, if I were to fail, I always knew that I wasn't going to fail, but devil's advocate, if I were, I always can just go back. So I always wanted to be a little bit different. I always wanted, like, the faster you fail, the faster you like succeed. I failed so much previously, so I was just like, what's this gonna do? And whenever I was at campus, I just knew that I was just so much different. My parents did. They told me that I had to at least try it out. I mean, I don't regret like going to the dorms. I think that's something that a lot of people, of course, should maybe experience, but it just wasn't for me. 3 years of going into the debt when I could be making money, and of course, having a ton of personal development, getting like I essentially just expedited my life in a positive way was really important for me. So it really does come down to who you are, what you actually think, what your values are. But the one thing that I would say is never like listen to someone because they want you to do it. Always like listen to yourself, trust your heart.
I think that's great advice. And I also, one thing that I noticed you said there is just, sort of like rationalizing the fear of failure and being able to understand like the worst case scenario here is you're just going to go back to where you were. Like the college isn't going
Right,
anywhere, hometown's not going anywhere. And to
right.
overcome that fear of failure, it's like, yeah, why not dive into something it could be a huge risk, could be a huge failure, but with that experience that you had earlier on with, a couple of entrepreneurial ventures, you sort of get that out of the way quickly, which I feel many people could use. They could use those sorts of experiences to be able to normalize failure and get used to that, comfortable with it at a young age, so that they can take it a step further and to take some leaps like that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it is really, really important to, again, you just have to trust yourself. It just always comes down to what you think. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter about other people's opinions, because at the same time, just use that as motivation. And when you're motivated and you know you're going to get to the finish line, you know that that echo effect's going to eventually come back to you. No matter what, if you just keep putting the time in and you keep failing and failing and failing, eventually something's going to click. And if I never made that leap, I wouldn't know I'm all my best friends essentially. So it is crazy. Different adventures lead to different opportunities, and I get to meet a lot of great people, and I'm very, very thankful for myself, like just trusting my gut, but I'm very thankful for the platform that we have here.
When you say trust yourself, basically what I'm hearing there is, you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have confidence in your abilities. Were you always confident, or is that something that sort of like develops over time?
I've always been really confident where I was always going to figure out something, but a lot of times I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I was just like going with the flow, figuring it out. I put a lot of time into learning. So like I've always like wanted to like I'm never like the one to settle. I never had like a settling mentality. So I just knew that if I don't settle and I just keep going and going and going, and I don't listen to anyone else besides myself at the time, like something's gonna click, something's gonna hit, and that's kind of what I did here.
All right, so let's talk about the beginning of your Better Earth venture there. So you saw Zane
Yeah.
Jan on Instagram, which he's our
Yep.
CEO of Better Earth, my business partner for many years. And you saw, he was talking about Better Earth, talking about that opportunity. You wanted to work with a product that you could really get behind, which is something I hear all the time, every single day. One of the reasons a lot of people like solar is just because it's something that you can sort of sell and feel good about. It's a lot more exciting than a lot of the other
Right.
products out there on the market. When you joined Better Earth, what was your expectations versus like sort of the reality that you encountered when you got out here?
If I would have said that I would have made $1 million in my first 12 months, I'd be lying to myself and I'd be lying to everyone. I remember exactly where I was about 3 days before I actually came out. I was actually on a boat on the water, just kind of reflecting on, I'm actually doing this. I committed. And again, when I commit to something, I'm going to do it. So I honestly, I've always just been huge in a business where, being really transparent with you, since Better Earth was a little bit newer at the time, I just thought to myself, okay, no matter what, I'm going to understand how business works. I'm going to understand the back end team, how to scale a business, how it actually operates. My goal, being really transparent, was make 6 figures. I saw a lot of salesmen that were a lot older than me, and I've always done sales in like a different way where it wasn't e-commerce, so it's more typing, scarcity, like tactics like that, where it wasn't more like people, like talking to people, right? So it was a different type of sale where I didn't actually realize that it's pretty much the same exact thing. So I was like, all right, if I can make 6 figures, I can get a ton of personal development. 80% of billionaires have knocked doors. That's my goal. What's the worst thing that happens? I go back. And I knew that no matter what, there's one thing that I could actually control, is how much time and effort that I actually put into it. So when I came out, I agreed to a 90-day blitz. And at the time, I remember I was laying in bed and I was watching this podcast about these guys doing 90-day blitz. I'm like, that's a lot of time. But when I got out there, I was like, I've been doing a 90-day blitz for the last 6 years, and I just didn't realize it. So it was something where I was already prepared to come out, and I was already working 12-hour days. I never went to class at college. I didn't care about grades. I knew I was never going to get a degree. And that really prepared me for my future with Better Earth and the solar industry. So that was something that I didn't realize at the time until I actually got out here and actually started doing it.
So you were working just crazy hard and you're on your own accord, just with your own personal motivation, working on your own businesses prior to joining, and you had no previous door-to-door experience at all?
Nothing. I had no previous door-to-door. I really didn't have, I used to work at a country club where I was always talking to older people, where maybe that helped as well, but no door-to-door experience, nothing. I had nothing, I didn't even know the utility name, the utility company name, until the day I got out here.
Wow. So what was that like for you, your first day on the doors? And feel free to drink your water.
I crushed it. Yeah, I crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. I mean, people couldn't believe it, essentially. We set the standard. I saw what the production everyone was doing, but absolutely crushed it. It was just me being myself, being really persistent, having the confidence behind the product and in myself, and everything really carries over. I've always been a really simple person. I never wanted to overcomplicate anything, but I always just put myself in other people's shoes. And this is another thing that definitely helped with the clothing company, because when I was in school, we would literally just sit in these giant lecture pits with 200 people. And I wouldn't be taking notes with whatever subject it was. The only thing I would actually be taking notes is looking around and seeing how many people were wearing dad hats, how many people were wearing beanies, what type of people wear beanies. Where of course, I start targeting people on Facebook. So it was the same exact thing. When someone opens the door, I kind of knew exactly what to say, because I could kind of tell what values that they had. And that definitely helped. So I did crush the doors pretty much my first day ever on the job. And I do give a lot of credit to the stuff that I had going on in the past.
That's awesome. And I mean, for people out there who've never, or maybe they've considered some door-to-door, or maybe they're seeing us talk about door-to-door sales and sort of what it's like, I think for many people, it's a very different type of sales. And I oftentimes, I compare it more to a sport than a regular sales job. It's very, it takes physical endurance, it takes mental endurance. You're facing a ton of rejection. It's crazy hot outside in the markets that we're operating in. It's a challenging thing to do. What would you say to someone who's sort of on the fence or contemplating, sort of getting into this space and wondering if they might also be good at it?
I mean, having mentors is really, really important, right? So with Better Earth and having myself, there's really no way to fail at all. And that's just the honest truth. You're provided the resources. If you put the time in and you're just an absolute sponge and you're soaking up all this information, we have what works. And being surrounded by people that motivate you every single day and push you to different limits, there's really no way to fail. So whether your why is, okay, I want to change people's lives, or I want to help the environment, or I want to make a ridiculous amount of money, everyone has a different why and has a different reason why they actually would join. But I 100% recommend it. It's something that, all aside of the money, you get $1 million of personal development that literally correlates to everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. So door to door in the solar industry, there's not a better product to sell. There's not a better company than Better Earth. And that's not even being biased whatsoever, but take the leap, take the leap 100%. You'll never have to look back.
So when you tell people about door to door and tell them about solar, you tell them about this opportunity where people are going to, move across the country, and you've recruited a ton of people from that you knew previously, right? Which I want to get into next. But,
Yeah.
people are naturally going to be skeptical of this whole thing. They're going to ask a number of different questions. They're going to say, isn't it saturated in the markets that you operate in? Aren't there other people that sell solar? What do you say to those kinds of objections?
Well, one, the market's not saturated. There's like less than 20% of people that actually have solar, right? So there's not a better time to be able to sell it 100%. And I don't even like to even use the word selling. All we are just helping out their situation, replacing bill they've already been paying for a lower one. So when it comes to like the saturated market or having like the thought of being like going door to door, what do a lot of people, like a lot of guys are graduating right now? I should have graduated this year and they're cold calling. It's the same thing. I'd rather be walking around in California than sitting in a cubicle cold calling in Wisconsin, right? Or selling something that you don't actually believe in. So again, it did check all the boxes where it's just a win-win-win thing where it helps you out, it helps the environment, it helps, of course, the homeowner. So I would just say like door to door, it's addicting. Once you get really, really good at it, it's so fun. It's not a job. Like this does not feel like a job whatsoever. So that's kind of like my biggest advice.
That's awesome. So you started with door to door and you did it. You were one of the few, I'd say, that you did crush it from day one, right? Like not everyone has that experience. I personally did not have that experience. For me, it was like, weeks and weeks, if not months of just sort of like figuring it out and sort of hitting my head against the wall before I started to really learn and be surrounded by and like find the right people that I could learn from. Because that really is like the hardest part, right? Like no one needs to reinvent the wheel in the door to door industry. You can just see what other people do that works.
Right.
But from there, from your initial success, how long was it before you felt really confident in the process and the product and selling to the point where you want to, invite other people to come join you and join your team?
Yeah, I knew there was one thing that I had to master first is myself. I'd never wanted to be a leader where I'm not going to be leading from the front and bringing out people where they're not in like a great situation. So until like I got 100% comfortable, I did start seeing a lot of stuff hitting my account, making sure that I can, of course, like provide for them. Because I mean, if you ask any of my guys, I probably care about their production more than they do. Like I care about them so much, even more than myself. So I've always been a really unselfish leader just from growing up. But probably, I think it was 3.5 months, I brought out 4 people. So that's 3.5 months. And I didn't know like them crazy well. I just had an opportunities call and I just like want to tell them the opportunity. Like I made $83,000. I closed for 16 deals in my first month ever in solar. And if I could do it, anyone else can. I'm going to be able to provide you with everything. But I started bringing out people when I really had everything mastered. I had the right pitch. I had the right results. I had the right story. That's kind of when I started looking into people.
Would you mind sharing like sort of like what I think a lot of people would be curious, like, what is this pitch? What do you tell people at the door? How do you get someone interested and captivated enough to, make a decision like this? What are you actually saying to people?
Yeah. So I always knew that my perspective on it, I just picture that 15 people have already hit the door at $15 solar salesman. So I'm not the first one coming to the door. Absolutely not. So the one thing that I always have to look at is how can I be 100% different and how can I buy 15 more seconds that no other salesman, of course, actually could get. That way I'll be able to get whatever objection that someone else hasn't got to be able to hear. But right away, like I'm just myself. Like I'm not a script. I'm not like, you can tell when someone's not being truthful or not being transparent or like they're trying to memorize stuff. I'm just myself. When I started, like I didn't have a perfect pitch, but there's like 3 things that I always knew when it does come to a sale. You do have to have scarcity where they can't wait 6 months to be able to do it because then they're just never going to do it. And then also just tell them like my story. So in my first 15 seconds, I'm going to leverage my story, exactly where I came from. I dropped out of school. I left my friends, family, my dog behind, and I drove a day and 8 hours from Wisconsin. It's just completely different. So I always want to have credibility. I'll talk about who I've been doing work with. So the way that I always just start off my pitch is like, what's going on, brother? You living the dream? And they're like, yeah, something like that. Really, really quick. I know you're disappointed. I'm not selling anything. My name is Chance. I'm actually just doing work with Matt and Kit DeMarco. It's actually easier if I show you. I want to get them outside the door. They're about 4 homes down. They got that giant German Shepherd. They walk in the morning at like 7 a.m. You probably know them, right? And I'll start nodding my head. So half the time, even if they don't know them, they say they know them. It's instant credibility. So now I'm just going to start going into the pitch where it's like, to do it, it's not going to cost you anything out of your pocket, like literally nothing. You could have $0 a name to do it. Like, to put these panels up, it's not costing you anything. It's not costing you 8 to 10 grand. It's all ownership. Same reason why you buy your house and you buy your car, it's yours. You get to own your power for less than you're renting it for literally nothing out of your pocket. Now I just go to the bill. But right there, like, that's just different. I'm only talking about 3 things about the product. All the other stuff is building that friendship. Give a compliment, smile. You have to be friendly. You're going to have rude homeowners, but it's pretty dang hard to be really rude to someone that has the energy and they're smiling, they're happy, they enjoy what they do. Right there, that's 50% of the battle.
50% of the battle is just having the right energy.
1,000%. Because when you have the right energy, you have the right conviction, you're trustworthy, and they can actually tell that you believe in what you're doing. The way that I always like to tell these guys is, when we were in school, you had great teachers and you had really bad teachers. And I promise you, the bad teachers are the ones that hate their job and they're really monotone, right? Or the class that you really look forward to, she had a ton of energy. She's like doing different things. She put smiley faces or stickers on her papers, whatever. You enjoy that class. They make learning fun. So you have to be that fun teacher. You don't want to be like that monotone, I hate my job, like, person, make it fun. And if you make it fun, not only do you enjoy what you do, because you get a different reaction from other homeowners, of course. And then 2, if you don't like it, you can either make the doors miserable or you can make it to be a blast where it literally doesn't feel like a job. Disattach yourself from the results. The results will literally naturally come, even if you have a mediocre pitch.
So energy is even more important than the pitch.
1,000%. Body language, energy. Absolutely. That's the most important part. I think it's like 13% of the English language is actually verbal. It's how you carry yourself. It's about what you're doing that other people aren't doing. And I bet you at least 60% of these homeowners that, of course, got knocked by different solar salesmen were bored. And the whole entire time that they were talking, they were actually thinking to themselves, how can I get this guy off my door?
Yeah, totally. And if you're going out there door to door, I think one of the most challenging things that people start to experience is, you're going home to home and you start to have an idea of what's going to happen next. You start facing enough rejection, it starts to become like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, oh, this guy's just going to slam the door in my face. This person's not going to be a good fit, or, it's probably just another renter or a credit fail or something like that. And so it's pretty easy, right, just because our brains are very like pattern oriented, to just start to like apply a pattern of what's happened before into like what's happening now, and to start to become just robotic and deliver the same pitch over and over and over again. It sounds like with your approach, you're able to keep it unique and keep it creative and have high energy. Like, what do you say to someone that's sort of in that situation where maybe they're just becoming robotic?
I mean, if you're going to be robotic, you're going to see mediocre results. And whether they want to hear or not, that's just the honest truth. If you're going to be a robot, you're going to be like the other 80%. If you want to get to the 1% or the top 10% of the solar industry, again, you're just going to have to do things that other people don't do. Essentially, if you have to tell yourself fake it till you make it with like even false energy, do it. Because I guarantee you will see people keep that door open a lot longer, But if you ask anyone that I knock with, my energy is ridiculous. Like, they always have so much fun. Like, dude, you just make the job so fun. I'm like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I have fun? They love it. I get a different reaction from people because my energy is really contagious. It's pretty hard to frown when someone else is smiling at you. So what I would say is just like, you do have to find a way to be able to make the job fun. And if you can't make the job fun, 1, you're probably not surrounded by the right leader. 2, you're not surrounded by the right company because you don't have the passion behind it. Or 3, maybe it's just not right for you. But at the same time, I guarantee you, like, if anyone, like on our team, like, everyone's happy, everyone loves it. People want to get to the door early as possible. People want to stay out late at night because they start seeing like the wheels turning. They start getting so much better, conviction, everything. It's just amazing. So it is something where you got to figure it out. If you have to fake it till you make it, you got to do it. But every single time I go up to the door, I'm thinking, I got to get this bill. I'm going to get the bill. I'm going to get the bill. It doesn't matter if the last 10 people have slammed the door in my face. A lot of guys in this industry always ask me, guys or girls, ask me 24/7 is, how many doors do I hit a day? I don't count that. That's not what it's all about. It's how many conversations and how long my conversations were. I only have to hit 20 doors to get 5 appointments. And it's just because I'm different and my conversations are so much more like valuable to that homeowner that they haven't had in the past. Because because I'm getting that objection out of them.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as far as when you're talking to someone, you're having that conversation with them. One thing that I hear quite a bit from people is that they can get a conversation going, they can talk to someone, but they're just kind of still on the fence. They're not really making that move. They're not like pulling that trigger to buy or really show that much interest. So how do you get people to move over that edge? Because I think that's one of like sort of the beauties of sales, right? It's like you're turning people from a no to a yes. What do you do if you're in that situation where you're really stuck in that middle ground?
So I actually just talked about this with the guys in the morning meeting. So I just want to elaborate on that first. What
Sure.
happens is a lot of people they have their pitch out of order. They're trying to literally set up an appointment before they even have the bill, or they have a piece of information that someone else didn't get. So if you're on the fence, like again, I always just put myself in the consumer's shoes. If you're on the fence and someone wants to sit down on an appointment, my automatic answer is no, right? So I always put a lot of scarcity behind it. Like if it's not going to make sense for you, brother, it's not going to make sense for me. I know you're a really busy guy. By the way, this is a beautiful home. You're doing something right. But if it's not going to make sense, just don't do it. And I won't even come back either. So I want to make it a little more selective where they can tell that I value their time. I'm a really busy guy as well. I value my time. But if it does make sense, I guarantee you'll do it. So I start like assuming the sale 24/7. If you're not assuming everything that you say or you have any type of doubt, the homeowner is going to have doubt as well. So one, that's like my big advice there. But two, it's always looping back for the bill. You're not going to just have someone just go grab the bill or say, I'm really interested. That's like 1 out of 1,000. You have to keep looping back to the bill and building value and building that friendship. You have to repeat yourself a whole lot. But I would say you have to ask for the bill a lot faster, because if you keep going on and on and on and start over explaining the product, one, they're going to get confused. Two, they're wondering, what do you even want from me? So keep it really simple. I dumb down the deal where a fifth grader would literally understand exactly why I'm there. And if you can do that, that's all you need.
Can you tell the audience like what's the significance of the bill?
Yeah. So the significance of the bill, one, like of course people set like soft appointments where they just ask like on average how much you're paying for electricity. But the significance of the bill will allow me to draw up their custom plan and actually come back with their actual numbers. So that is really, really important, just because one, they do have like a little bit of a commitment because they gave me a lot of their personal information that I, of course, can't do anything with, but they really don't know that. But two, it literally has me 100% ready for that appointment. Does that answer that, Pat?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just providing some additional context for people who maybe are not familiar with the solar process and sort of what we do. With that, there's kind of, I think we talk about quite a bit how there's a few elements to the sales process, right? Like you got to figure out that the door knocking, you got to figure out how to create that unique experience for everyone, how to overcome those sort of robotic, sort of like the challenge of being robotic and sort of getting people's interest at the door. From there, like the sale is like getting someone to sign up to go solar. They're going to sign some sort of agreement. It's a consultation, right? How did you learn how to do that aspect?
Just assuming everything. Even when I didn't know like a certain answer, I would just assume it. That's pretty much all it was for me. And it was just, again, I'm just so simple. And I believe I believe in the product so much where it just carries over. So from that aspect, like I was learning on the go as well. Like I didn't have like someone that was doing a crazy amount of production before I came in. I just kind of had to like set the bar high. And honestly, if you just put so much time in, you believe in what you do, and you just have like conviction and persistence about it, because you're right and they're wrong every single time. If I'm assuming appointments, a lot of people are just going to sit. And I always just like value their time too, and they just respect the hell out of it. That's like my simple answer for you. It sounds really repetitive, but you don't have to have some like unicorn pitch where it's just from fairyland. You don't, like, I've changed my pitch so many times and I saw sometimes the same exact results, but there's really no like secret formula to it. It's just they buy you. They don't buy anything else. They're going to buy you. And you have to find a way for them to be able to trust you, and they will buy from you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like there's so many other people that can sell solar, so many other people that come to their door. And so, when they do make that decision to buy, like it's most likely going to be because they liked you more than everyone else that's been there.
Exactly. It's just all about the charisma. That's one thing that a lot of people, like some people ask, like, what does chance do? And the one word that people summarize it is just charisma, being yourself. If you're not yourself, they're not going to buy from you. or at least you're losing out on 50% for sure. If you're yourself, it's a niche market. It's not for everyone, right? It is actually for everyone, but a lot of people, like, you're not going to get a yes every single time. So I just like work really efficient. I talk to as many people as possible on myself, whether they're going to like me or not, it doesn't matter. It's a niche business. I'm looking for 30% of all doors to be able to answer. And of course, I want to be able to talk to as many people as I can. And naturally, I'm going to be able to set appointments just from the way I carry myself.
Let me ask you this. How do you prevent other people's energy from influencing you? Naturally, like, if you're going to go door to door,
Yeah.
right? You're showing up at someone's door. They're not expecting you. They didn't invite you there. You're knocking on the door. They're going to have sort of like, it's almost like a biological reaction to someone sort of coming to their property, their territory. Their fight or flight instincts are like triggered. They are going to answer that door. And in many cases, you might be catching them on the worst day of their life, and they might be really upset about it. They might slam a door in your face. How do you sort of insulate your own internal feelings from, the sort of reaction you might get out in the world?
It's kind of what you just said right there. Actually, you kind of answered it. Is they could be having their worst day ever, but a lot of times when someone's really, really like rude to me without actually hearing me out, there's something else in their life that's going on. But it's a game. Like, I make it a game. So I try to keep that door open until it's 100% slammed in my face, no matter what, even if I know they're not going to buy, because I want little wins. Every door you can find a win in, like a win in. Instead of looking at like a negative like point of view, I look at the negatives as positives. I find ways to be able to flip the negatives to positives. And when you can do that, you just have to enjoy what you do. You're signing up. Yes, you're going to get denied 80% of the time. Absolutely. That's great. That's awesome. Because I know it's an Easter egg hunt. The difference is, instead of like your grandma putting 25 cents and you find the gold egg, it's $20, behind one of those doors is like $5,000. Just because someone is really, really mean to me or like just really disrespectful, yes, they probably did have something else going on in their life. I can't just take it out on the next homeowner or be negative because someone else was negative to me. That could literally blow a whole entire sale if I like let that affect me. So it's just living in the present. Like, I really could care less if someone's really like rude. It's awesome. Like, I think it's hilarious. And if you can find like that way and like look at life that way, you don't fail. You're always positive. Same thing like in the house, like our atmosphere. Anyone that wants to bring any negative energy to me, I'll just shut it down right away. I want to surround myself with people that are really, really positive. I've been knocked thousands of doors. I don't even think about the negative ones. I look at the people that I helped and the positive impact and the relationship that I built. So if you can have that mindset of, okay, this person was rude, this person was rude, this person was rude, why would I take it out on someone else because they didn't even do anything? I know what I'm signing up for. I'm going to their door. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. So that's something, the way that I look at it. And I just find little wins at all times.
Yeah, I mean, like, common thread I'm noticing here is just sort of like going into things with the right mindset, right? Like, if like rationalizing to even move across the country, go to California to do a new job, and knowing, sort of rationalizing that fear of failure, then being out there in the field, like, you're going to face a ton of rejection, a lot of hard stuff. It's going to be challenging, but you're sort of rationalizing, like, that has nothing to do with your future success. It has nothing to do with the kind of deals that you're going to get. It's just it's wrapping your head around the whole situation and understanding, like, having accurate expectations for yourself, and then what that experience is going to be, and being able to carry, sort of have your own confidence and have your own mindset sort of bulletproof in a way that other people aren't going to affect that or be able to affect it.
Absolutely. And one thing I always just ask myself or ask someone else when they are negative, it's just like, how is this possibly going to help you? Do something about it, right? If I go out like on the basketball court, because I used to play basketball, my dad was always the head coach at our high school. But if I go out to the court and like the buzzer, like we start playing, and my whole entire mindset is, I'm just going to miss this shot, right? I'm just going to miss it. You're not going to make it, like maybe 20%. You're going to shoot 15% if you just have that mindset of, oh, I'm just going to miss shots. Instead, once you start getting like that groove and like you have so much confidence and you start just like absolutely flicking the shit out of the ball, it's a lot better, right? Because you're thinking, I'm going to make this shot. I have confidence, right? But best people, like, I have bad days too. Trust me. Like, I don't see crazy results every single day. But Alex Rodriguez, he has like hitting slumps. He doesn't say, oh, whatever. He's going to find a way to get out of the slump. And it's all positive energy. If you want to remain negative, I promise you, Alex Rodriguez would be batting like 150, 200, just because he has that mindset. The NBA greats or any great in business or sports, they fail all the time. They have bad days. They have bad games. They learn from it. They get out of the slump. They have a positive mindset. When they're not doing good, they're still leaders. So every day is just a new day. Every day is a game day, you know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, sort of like in this, sort of circumstance or situation is like using the idea of like faking it till you make it, to your advantage. And I think like for some people, they hear that term, like fake it till you make it, you think of like someone who's like bluffing about how much money they make or something like that.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrible, but if you apply that to just your mindset and the way that you feel, like, could you touch on sort of like how much that's, sort of how you use that day to day?
Like the fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Like sort of like,
I mean, if you have,
like, how do you teach someone to have confidence before they deserve confidence, right? Because it's sort of like a chicken and the egg situation, right? It takes confidence, it takes results to have confidence, but it takes confidence to get results, right?
Yeah. The one thing that I would say is like a lot of times for like the fake it till you make it is, again, I was talking about the echo effect, but it's what Ed Mylett always says. Eventually that echo is going to come back. People start in different stages. People get off to really good starts. Some people will literally have a horrible start, but it's always going to come back. So literally just like essentially like fake your energy. Like, it's going to come eventually, but that like, if you have the energy and you have the positivity, eventually something's going to click. The echo effect's going to come back a lot faster. So if you're negative, that echo effect's never going to come back, or it's going to be 3 times longer than, of course, if you were really positive. So just like faking it till you make it, what I mean is just have an energy even when you don't want to. It's not like anything about like making money or whatever. It's having energy when you just don't feel it, or you have like that negative energy. You want to be positive. And if you feel that you're negative, that little like that little voice in your head, you got to kick the shit out of it. And from there, yeah, that's all. I don't know how to really elaborate on that, but
no, yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just overcoming, and even like, honestly, even the way that you describe it is when that if you're positive, it's going to come back to you quicker. In that regard, you're honestly not even faking it because you're being authentic with what you believe to be true. So, I mean, it's just conviction and belief. I wanted to ask you next, like, I feel like a lot of people, they might be wondering more about like, what is it like day to day to be doing this kind of work? Because it is different than other positions. Like a lot of other jobs that are available to people, especially like, early in their lives or early in their careers is, you're being told when to show up, when to take a break, when to go home. And, I notice at least that some people have a difficulty to adapting to a lifestyle where they're actually holding themselves accountable for their own discipline, work hours, and everything. Like, how is that for you?
Yeah. So I love what you just said there. The one word that I could sum up being 1099 and working your own schedule is just accountability, So the way my day, it's always, of course, changed when I'll actually break it down. So my first 3 months before I ever like brought out anyone, I was waking up at 6 a.m. I was doing whatever it takes to be able to get ready for the day. Like you would catch me dead waking up at 7:30. Andrews and Betty made sure everyone was up, which I thank him for that every single day, which is amazing. And Zambo, right? But I was either doing like meditating, writing down my goals, having everything set where I knew exactly how to attack the day. So after 9 o'clock, we would go to our morning meeting. From there, you're going right out to the doors. And I would never even come back until 8:30. No one had to tell me twice, right? Some people like literally like just say out their work or go through the motions. I'm just going. I'm blitzing. I have crazy amounts of conviction. I have crazy amounts of energy because I knew that if I could, I would have results that no one else did. So it's accountability. So a lot of people, when they do work like their own schedule, you got to treat this job like it's an 80-hour job instead of a 40 if you want to be really, really good. So for my first 90 days, I didn't take one day off. I was working Sundays and I was making sure that I was out there before anyone else, and I would not be home until I'd be the last one out. I mean, first one out, last one in every single time. And anyone could vouch for me at the company. And that's why I saw results that other people didn't. So that's like my day-to-day when I first started. When I brought out a team, I always knew that I still wanted to lead from the front. I want to be a leader. So then it was really even working more efficiently. And I didn't even know that was possible. But I would sacrifice a lot of things. Like sometimes I'd even sacrifice meals, or I'd only be able to eat breakfast and dinner, not even lunch. But I didn't have a car. So I was kind of stranded out there. I would have to Uber to the doors, and I was stuck. I was 100% stuck. There was nothing. Like I only had $4,000 in my name, and I was wasting almost all of it. Not wasting it, but spending it mostly on Ubers. So I couldn't like afford to make an excuse about being in a bad neighborhood. I couldn't Uber somewhere else and spend another $40. I was stuck. So I just made the most out of every single opportunity, every single conversation. So my day to day, honestly, building a team, I wake up still around 6 o'clock and I'm up till 12 o'clock pretty much every night. I get my 6 hours and I'm good. A lot of people even say like, dude, you're gonna get burnt out. No, I don't know what I would do without this opportunity. I really don't know what I would do. So I'm going to make the most out of it, and I'm going to be able to change a ton of lives while doing it. So I'm always up until 12, helping out other people, tweaking pitches, whatever it is. I literally just breathe the job. I'll sleep and then I work. That's it. And that's what I love.
Man, I love that. It's sort of like just moving to California, forcing yourself to do something. Like if you're going to take that leap of faith, right, you kind of have to force yourself out there in the field and force yourself to work. And same thing with just being out there every single day on sort of that level is not having a car sort of forces you into, just work. You have no way out but through. And you want to tell, you got some cars now, right?
Yeah, I got a couple cars.
That's pretty
Yeah,
funny. So you upgraded from
yeah.
zero car and Ubering to turf to.
Yep, I went from a 2006 Honda Civic I bought for $2,000, like my 5th month in, to a Porsche and then a Lamborghini. So that's one thing I always talk about. There's levels to everything. You got to start in chapter 1, not 16. And I say it all the time. You got to start somewhere. And there's levels to everything. If you keep putting the time in, it's always going to come back. And that's something that I still remember. And that's something that I definitely recommend a lot of people to know is just like trust yourself, trust the process. It's going to come back to you. You're only going to get better if you keep putting more time in. Just keep working on your craft. You should never see a downtrend in results. Every single time, I don't compete against anyone else in the industry. I just compete against my last month. And what that is like, why would I compare my results to someone else? Like, I'm going against myself. Every day is a battle about the last day. Every day is a new day. Who cares if you closed 4 deals yesterday? Today's a new day. So it's just always just battling with like your inner self. And that's something that I've always done. I don't care. I really could care less what other people do. I want to be able to provide whatever I can possibly help with, but I'm not going to get down on myself because someone had a great day. I'm happy for them. That motivates me, but I'm only going against myself.
So, I mean, you just said right there, like it's something you've always done is just compete against yourself. And I think this is sort of one of the things that I find so interesting about your story is the fact that, you're able to come in and sort of create results that other people had never seen before. I think it's one thing, like for a lot of people, like they can even see what you've done and say, well, if Chance can do it, like I can work that hard. I can do it too. Like they see a real example, but to sort of pave a trail like that is sort of like a unique, thing that a lot of people have a challenge doing, or at least it makes it a lot harder to achieve those kinds of results. Why do you do that? Why have you always done that?
I always want to set the bar high. It's like when the 4-minute mile happened and then the next year, like 10 people did it. So I wanted to be the person that switched people's paradigms. It would have been really easy to get complacent, setting it like the company record in like the first 15 days, and I could have relaxed. I want to be able to set the record. I want to beat someone by 10. It really doesn't matter. Like to me, like I want to be able to be someone that changes lives and influences people outside of our company. And I've just always been a big giver. And like, I just know why I'm here. Every day that I'm thinking negatively, I know why I'm here. On my giant whiteboard, it's literally right in front of me. It literally says, why am I here? Because I always remember like that first month or that first day. And I tell myself every single day, it's the same exact feeling, and capture that. So that's what I would say for that, Pat.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think is like, if you're to boil it down to like one thing, what do you think is the hardest thing about what you do?
I mean, there's a lot of like little obstacles you have to jump through, but I love that. I just embrace the grind. Hardest thing I have to do.
And you could even look at it from the perspective like other people, like what do you notice is like the hardest thing for them to adapt to? Because you do have a team of people that also all started fresh, and people were they had no experience prior, no door-to-door experience, and they had to overcome some challenge or another to start seeing some success as well. Like what is the hardest thing that you or some of the people that you are working with like have to overcome?
I would say remain positive. and people definitely compare to my results. So it's a little different from when I came in to when they come in, because they're coming to a team that does ridiculous amount of production. Where when we first started, like 4 deals was actually a decent amount, right? And now we set that bar and we push the whole entire mindset where you feel like you're average if you're doing 10,
Yeah.
you know? So that's definitely deceiving because people do start in different spots. People didn't like a lot of people always think that I just came into the business and crushed it, but I did like 5 years of stuff prior to it. It was just different, but it definitely prepared me for this opportunity. For someone that, of course, hasn't had like a lick of like sales experience, it might take a little bit longer, but you're also going to have like the resources to be able to expedite results a lot faster than we did with the opportunity we had at the time. The Better Earth opportunity is ridiculous now. You have all the resources to be successful. You just have to, of course, implement it into your craft. You'll be good. So I would say that, and of course, just putting the time in. So I don't go out to lunches. I don't go out to dinners. Again, I just work. And that's why I see the results I do. But definitely putting the time in and sacrificing some fun things to make sure that you're set for essentially life.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because it is a crazy opportunity right now. You can earn a ton of money, just the way the product works and the industry works and everything like that. And talk about setting yourself up for life. Like I think that's something that a lot of people, they see young people making a bunch of money. You're going to buy Porsches and cars and do some fun stuff. But like, what is the bigger picture here? Like, what's your future outlook? Like, why are you doing this so heavily today? Why are you why are you trying to get the most out of this opportunity right now?
Because do it while you're young. I have a family that I want to be able to help out. I want to be able to take them on vacations. I want to be able to do a lot of things that I was never able to do. Don't get me wrong. Like I was in a middle-class family. We did a lot of cool things, but I want to be able to make sure my parents and my brothers and generations behind me don't have to have like that mentality, like I can't do this because I don't have enough money, or I can't buy these groceries, or I can't go out to this dinner, or I have to go on the dollar menu to be able to order. There's a lot of restraints, and a lot of people do say money doesn't like buy happiness, which I definitely like agree with, but it does buy opportunities. So the reason why I do what I do today, and this is just like 100% the truth, is I want to change so many lives, right? Like our clothing company, for every order we get, we donate a t-shirt to a child in the hospital. And I definitely got it from my parents. They're both big givers, where I used to sacrifice some of my Christmas presents for other ones. My mom like had us do that for someone like in the elementary school.
Wow.
So I want to be able to, like, of course, provide that platform for people to be able to come out here, get a lot of personal development. I want to change their life. And if I change their lives, a lot of people have the same why as me, where they want to help their family out as well. You're not just changing one life, you're changing a whole lot of others. So that's like my biggest like drive. I just want to change lives. I want to bring out something out of someone. And once they start seeing that reward, that's more fulfilling to me than any paycheck.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like I think it's important for people to realize that like when you're when you're doing sales, when you're earning commissions and things like that, like you're getting paid because you're creating value for somebody, right? Like there's a value exchange in every single transaction, and it's not unethical to earn a commission for providing a surplus of value to somebody, right? Like most situations, with a homeowner, like we could be saving them 50 to over $100,000 over the next 25 years on their energy costs. There's a ton of value on the table. That's part of the reason solar can be so lucrative for people, is if you get good at selling that, is because you're creating so much value for so many people. So I think it's important for people to be aware of that. Someone making high commissions, it's actually a reflection of the value they're putting out into the world.
Absolutely. And the one thing I always like tell myself is like, no one's going to do a better job of taking their project from A to B than me. Right. I see a lot of people in this industry, because you're talking to people constantly. The people that have solar, you do talk to a lot of people that had a bad experience. So I honestly feel like I'm saving someone before they go with someone else that's not going to do as good of a job as I will. So that's another thing that really fires me up, is when someone did the right thing, they went solar and they had a terrible experience for doing the right thing and making that investment, because it is a no-brainer, especially with Better Earth. I mean, there's a couple other good companies out there, but I don't think people provide the value that we do. I don't think that they have the customer experience like that we do. And that's the coolest part about it. There's so many pluses, where why would you be negative when you have all of these wins that you can, of course, just start racking up every single day? You should be so busy where you don't even have time to look back and be negative. I don't even think about what I ate yesterday. I couldn't even tell you what I did yesterday because I'm so focused in the present.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about the future. I mean, where else would you like to see, like I always tell people,
Yeah.
like solar is not going to be forever, right? It's not like the
Right.
industry's changed, right? What,
Mhm.
and with the, what you're building today, like where do you want to take this energy that you're harnessing, that you're building up? Where do you want to take that into the future?
I mean, I want to get as many people as possible to join the opportunity. I want to be in a ton of different states. I want to be in a ton of different markets. I want to accept the challenge every day. Every single day, like I just want to be challenged. I want to be able to bring in and have that weight on my shoulders where I don't want to let someone fail. So I want to have thousands of people on our team because you just won't regret it. Like no matter what we do is sick. And eventually I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to donate, like whatever. Like I want to be able to be that person. Like a Steve will do it, go to Walmart and help like $100,000. Like everyone just fill up your shopping carts. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I want to be able to go to homeless shelters, and if I'm outside Starbucks, like I'll buy them food. I want to be able to provide for people that didn't have the opportunity or like the upbringing that I did, or like not the stable family relationship that I like was of course thankful for. So to be able to make an impact in a lot of different ways, and just itself with like the whole solar game, we change lives. Ryan Tessner, one of my favorite guys, he's one of my best friends forever. He wanted to go to the military. He was already training for the military. He's already brought out 20 people and he's already changed 20 lives just from me being able to reach out to him.
Wow.
Which is really cool. He didn't want to go to the military. He felt like he had no other option.
Yeah.
But since he came out here, he's already changed 20 other people's lives. It's ridiculous. Like, honestly, I'm still so new to like the industry. It's been a little over 2 years where it hasn't even set in.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one thing I keep hearing you say is, like even there, it's like, I want that challenge. I want that growth. Right. And I was just thinking yesterday about how, how often when you look on the world today and you look at opportunities to make money, like people are selling you on easy money, right? They're like, oh, do this. It's the best opportunity to make the easiest money, fastest money, whatever. And while most of those things, most of those things end up being a scam, right? And,
right.
Versus like what you're saying here is you want the challenge, you want the difficulty, you're embracing the hardship. Could you touch on that sort of like, it's just the difficulty of this whole thing, right? It's not easy. It's not like some fake easy money sort of scheme. It's hard money.
No, it's really hard money. Again, like you're asking someone to essentially take out a $50,000 loan. And sometimes it's the day you meet them, right? It's getting both people on board. It's having people not overthink the whole entire situation. It's hard money. Like if it was easy, everyone would do it. Everyone would be rich as can be, So yeah, it's definitely hard money, and it definitely takes a lot of personal development. And every day you have to be locked in. You can't get complacent. You can't compare yourself. It's hard money. You're walking around in 100-degree weather, 80-degree weather, 90-degree weather, right? Staying level-headed, not letting people get to you, getting told no 100 times in one day, and then still being able to remain positive. It's hard money, 1000%. But with it, the reward is always going to come, whether all aside of the money. Like the reward comes by, you just did something right for yourself, you did something right for them, and you did something right for the environment. Again, it checks all boxes. I just can't imagine selling a product where it's just like a choice, essentially. This is something where you can get behind in every single way. And I like Better as a for-purpose company as well. We do a lot of things outside of just the whole we're just going to install you. Like we changed lives. We were just in Nepal, crazy. So that's really cool too, seeing the impact you're making.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think that's a really cool thing to touch on. Cause I mean, I think that's, part of the reason, it's great working with you, Chance, because you have the same philosophy that Better Earth has, which is, we want to do more than just install solar panels. And so, what you just touched on, like people can look it up. We did a Give Power Foundation we work with the Give Power Foundation, where in April, we sent 10 people to Nepal to install a solar powered plant for a remote village. And like, that's just the coolest thing ever. You watch those videos. It's like, changing lives on one hand in the United States by saving people a ton of money and giving them sort of energy independence. On the other hand is, being able to donate to projects like that, where these people literally did not have electricity. And people forget, especially in the United States, like electricity is an extreme luxury. Like being able to work after dark, being able to like read a book at night, like these are luxuries to people in the third world. And I think we oftentimes forget how crazy it is that we can do that.
You're right. And I think moral of the story, and like to even summarize what you just said, it's just like you gotta be thankful. People would die to have this opportunity once they're like there. You just got to get them over the edge. It's essentially just like a homeowner. You're doing something right for someone to come out if they're going to put the time in. So just being thankful for this opportunity, being thankful to be even sheltered, right? And if people like, I just look at things in a different perspective, like a bird's eye view, where I'm going to be complaining about hitting doors and helping people while people are trying to find food. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to expedite all this growth to be able to help out other people that don't have the platform, the opportunity, or like the stable like friendships and family members. Like that's really important to me. So if I'm like looking back and I'm thinking about all these other things, I'm thinking about the wrong thing. I know exactly where I want to get to. I want to have $1 billion. I don't want it. I'm going to have $1 billion. Whether I'm literally just manifesting it. I know I will, and I'm going to get there. $1 million is a drop in the bucket. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the money. I know the money is just naturally going to come because I just trust myself and I know where I want to be in 10, 15, 20 years. I look up to my future self. I look up to my future self being 20 years away. I look up to that. Who do I want to be in 20 years? It's just like, it's such a micro scale to be thinking about negative things on a day-to-day basis. I'm just always positive. That's just who I am.
Yeah, well, I think that's, I mean, even what you said there, I think is a huge point, just being able to look towards like, who are you living for? You know what I mean? If you're living for like today, you're probably just going to take a break, take a day off or whatever. But if you really are living for future you, like 20 years down the future, down the road, and you're thinking about how you're going to reflect back on your life, like that's honestly a really, it's a mature and wise way of looking at things, because you realize that, that's what's going to matter more. It's like, sort of, what are you doing today to be the person you want to be in the future, rather than just like, prioritizing your comforts today, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And one thing we always talk about is just like that little voice in your head. Every time that you should be doing something and you're just not doing it, you got to find a way to be able to overcome that. You got to get rid of that little voice. Always listen to the voice that's saying, I should be doing this, but I'm doing this. Attack all problems when they come. Be organized. If you're not organized, like in your room, you're just not organized overall. Like it correlates to everything that you do in an everyday thing. You got to be organized. You got to be efficient with your time. You got to manage your time. If someone only wants to make $200,000, that's great. Everyone has different whys than myself and our guys on our team, but anything can kind of come true in the whole entire solar industry. And it's just a perfect opportunity. Why wait?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Last thing I want to ask you about, Chance, is just like when it comes to routine now, like you're in a little bit more stable place than when you first started out. How are you, what do you do for like routine day to day? Like what's the day-to-day life of someone joining this industry?
Yeah, joining the industry, like I do expect a 90-day blitz just like I did. Again, like I wouldn't ask anything that I have not done, of course, where I just kind of know what does work. And we've seen it happen. We see our guys that produce a lot, they actually listen to it and they crush it. So day to day, I mean, waking up early, getting your personal development done, getting your goals done, and getting out to the doors by 10:30 and getting back when the sun is 100% down. My day-to-day life, it's a little bit different just because, of course, I have a lot of my guys calling me, really investing a lot of time into helping them with whether their pitch, questions they have, homeowners, calling people, helping them get the deal done. So it is a little bit different, but I'm just like essentially just putting my time into different spots than where I did have to when I first started. But no matter what, I'm working 16 hours a day. That's just the truth. So it's always different. And that's the cool part about it. You talk to different people, you have different situations, you have a lot of funny stories. It's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, I'm really excited to see, the next evolution of your career here, and your next sort of like growth and development, because you're still such a young guy and there's going to be a lot of that ahead. And so really excited to see where this goes. For where should people where should they find you online, or if they want to talk to you or ask you questions about any of this stuff, where should they connect with you?
Yeah, it's Chance Pron. That's on Instagram. That's probably the best way to be able to do it. And then Pat, we got to talk about that. I mean, like all the big months, man.
Yeah, you want tell me about them.
Yeah, well, the reason why I was just saying that is just because just like a constant growth. We always have like a bunch of company competitions where it's just constant growth, like never settling. So it went from like 16 to 30. And then I had like that big month of 68.
So 16 deals in a month, right? Was your first month?
My first month. Yeah.
30 deals was your second month?
Yeah. I think it was like 27 my second month. I didn't hit 30.
Got it. And then you hit an all-time record, which is, to me, insane. You know, it's coming from someone, I've done door-to-door solar sales a lot. I would be out there in the field all day, every day. And, you know, like my method is like the old fashioned, like if you just go out there and talk to enough people, you're going to get deals. And in that sort of gear, you're going to do like 10 deals a month. And that's like, great. You know what I mean? That's awesome. 68 deals in a month is hard to fathom. Tell us about that. What was that like?
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to kind of go over it is like, I'm not usually one to ever pat myself on the back or anything like that, but it's just the opportunity you actually have here. It's just, again, if I didn't have my guys pushing me every single day to be a leader, like I never would have been able to hit it. So I give like all credit to, of course, people that hold me accountable, and the team, of course. But the reason why I did want to go over it is just shows how much time like we actually do put in here. It shows that if you're in the industry and you're not surrounded by the right leaders with the right platform, with the wrong mentality, there is a better spot out there. And if like you actually do see yourself getting complacent with the results and not being held accountable, there's sometimes a different time to maybe make the switch to the 100%. So that's just the cool part about it.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, that's really one of the craziest things about, you know, I noticed this on sales teams for many, many years. I've done a ton of different sales positions, and you know, people always do rise to the group that they're surrounded with, right? It's like that network effect. It's that law of averages or whatever. It's you are who you surround yourself with. And so if you're in a situation where there's not someone who is, you know, sort of pushing everyone to a new level, then you're going to stagnate, right? And that's where, like, you know, I met some door-to-door solar teams at SolarCon a few months ago where, you know, their standard is just like 2 to 3 deals. And
exactly.
You know, tell me what would happen if someone on your team only got 2 to 3 deals.
Well, it's impossible unless you just don't work. Like it's literally impossible not to get 2 to 3 deals. Like it's just a norm here. Like if you put the work in, if someone's doing 10 deals right now with like the situation that you just were talking about, you're going to do 20 here, right? You're surrounded by the right people. You have the right resources and you have the right leaders. So often in this industry, I see a lot of leaders that bring out people and they just sit back and relax, and it makes no sense to me. You know, that's something that really, really like gets under my skin, is a leader sitting back and like, just, oh, I did my job, I brought people out. No, you did like 10% of your job, right? You need to actually lead from the front. Just because you're doing well financially does not mean that you just brought these people out and just said, all right, figure it out on your own. You know, I care about every single person that I bring out. We're going to be starting a couple of blitz houses in Arizona and California, where we want to get probably like 20 guys, 15 guys out. I mean, we already have like 300 people already reaching out for it, but definitely if this is something that you're interested in, message me on Instagram as ChancePron, ChancePron.
Yeah. So that's the, what you're describing there, your frustration with people is that complacency, right? And like you said much earlier in this interview, is that there's levels to everything, right? So like, even when you get to that next level of income or whatever, how do you overcome the complacency?
Right. How do I overcome it? It's just like, again, it's just a drop in the bucket. I don't look at like commission summaries. I look at the guys, like bringing them from 4 deals to 8, people that have joined from other companies and just being a better leader than the previous one. So I look at their results. That's the reward. And of course, that yes, like income naturally comes, but $1 million, $2 million, like, yeah, it's a lot of money. Of course, like I'm happy about it, but it's not where I want to be. You know, I just don't have like the settling like mentality. I'm only 22 years old. I can't imagine where I'm going to be at 45 and the amount of lives I can actually impact. So $1 million is a drop in the bucket. And with it, I had the same exact opportunity as everyone that's listening right now. It was actually different. Your compensation structure is a lot better here right now than it was when we first started. So if I could have done it back then, like I'm not some like special person. I do outwork pretty much everyone. That's something I could say. But if I can do it, anyone else can do it. You have all the tools that I have. You know, I'm not a leader that doesn't want the best for everyone. You know, I'm always willing to be able to help out.
Yeah, 100%. So let me ask you this. When are you going to beat your best month?
You know, I was actually thinking that to myself, because I've actually been on the doors for like the last 7 days, and we're at I think I'm at 15 so far, 15 or 16 so far this month. I think I have to average like 2.4 a day. This is all door to door. I want to be able to try to beat it in September.
And just so everyone's aware, these are all closed deals. These are not leads. These are people
Yeah,
committing to go solar. So you're
yeah,
aiming for
100%.
September. What are you going to do in September to make that happen?
Just not take time off. Like there's no time. Like I'll be working the whole entire time. I'll be living out in the field. I'll be bringing a backpack with Cliff Bars, whatever, but I will not be going out to dinner. I will not be like having lunch, nothing like that. I'm going to be able to set off. I'm going to get everything done on the back end that I need to be able to get done. I'm going to have a clear mind where the only thing I'm focusing on is just helping out people, but it's going to be a grind, 100%. You can't have a day where you have one, because if you do, then you have to have 4 the other day to make up for it. So just the pipeline has to be full. I'm going to be double booking appointments. I'm going to have to probably sit in. My goal would definitely be to have 3 to 4 appointments every single day, because my closing rate's probably like 90% if I get in a house. If I get in a house, pat it over.
It's game over, right? I want to ask you what your numbers
100%.
are, like to give someone an idea. Like, I know you don't necessarily count doors, but like of the number of doors you hit, the number of conversations you have, the number of people you're able to turn into a lead, and then for those leads, how many you're able to close.
Yeah. So if I probably talk to 20 people, I probably get on average probably 4 appointments, 5 appointments, probably 4, being realistic. Some days you're gonna have 4, some days you're gonna have 3. You're always gonna have like once in a while, like you will have a no-show. I don't really get them anymore just because I build a lot of value in like a friendship beforehand. I would say like my closing rate, like this is the honest truth, I probably close at least over 90% of anyone I sit down with, for sure. This month, I've had one person that didn't close, and that I didn't even 2-touch them. I only 1-touch or nothing. I don't want to waste my time. You're either going to do it with me today and never look back, or sorry, man.
Yeah. I want to ask you about, you mentioned you build a strong friendship with them. Could you touch on the importance of like building that rapport, building that friendship with them compared to, like what the value is in the deal?
Yeah, 100%. So once I get like the information, or just like being myself, like on the door, I'm pretty much just talking about what they do. I'm looking around the house. I'm looking at what they value, what sports teams they like. And I'm just going to ask them a question where I know they take a lot of pride in it. They have a really nice house. Like they take pride in that. Ask questions they take pride in. And I'll start talking about my story, where I came from, ask them if they've lived in California. It usually branches off where it's a longer conversation, where by doing that, instead of just leaving the door after you set the appointment, that's going to make sure it's going to sit. It's like canceling on a friend instead of a salesman. So I just know, like, I don't even focus on deals. I focus on appointments like set, because I know if I get in the house, I'm going to close it 100%. But yeah, it's just building that friendship. And if you can have like that friendship with them, they're going to do it. It's just trust. It's not a transaction. It's just all you have to do is have them trust you. That's it. Simple as that.
I'm sure you've seen some sales reps that kind of, when they're brand new, they might be struggling, right? They might be in that same situation you're in. They're Ubering to turf. They got maybe $1,000 to their name or something like that. And maybe they're coming off with that, what we like to call commission breath, right? Where they're trying to, they're just kind of itching for the deal a little bit too hard. Yeah. What do you say to people that are stuck in that, or sort of in that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Don't itch for the deal too hard. The deals naturally come. As soon as you start like pushing people, like they can just feel the pressure, and they get really uncomfortable. Even if you got the deal done, they're just going to cancel. So just control what you can control, and just be a friend. You want to be able, like, if you're not there just to actually help them out, you're doing something wrong. So you have to reprogram your mind to being there for them. It's not about the commission. I don't count commission, nothing like that. I just generally want to help them out, and the commission just naturally comes. So that's what I'd say. Like, just don't be pressured. Don't be a high pressure guy. And it's just not going to work out for you. It's always going to come back to you, and they're just going to cancel, and you'll see $0 commission. You just wasted all your time, instead of just being like that trustworthy friend where they can rely on to make sure you do the right thing for them. So,
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because like, don't be a high pressure guy, right? Because I think that even sort of touches on, there's like a sales stereotype out there about like hard closing and getting like sort of coerced into things. And from what I'm gathering, what I'm observing from your method here and what you're describing is you're making friends with people. You're not trying to pressure them into doing something they wouldn't want to do.
Exactly.
It's all about just like having a real relationship.
Right. And it's just like, I dumb down the deal so much where I'll turn a hard no into a lay down just by dumbing down the deal and not like pressuring them whatsoever. It's just common sense. Like it's just facts. And if you can simplify the deal, use analogies that actually make sense, like again, like the whole car and house thing, like they own everything. Like I ask questions I always know the answers to. Would you rather own something or rent something? I know the answer to it. It's own. So you own your house, you own your car. How come you don't own your power? It's pretty contradicting, right? What made you pick the utility company you're with? I know the answer. They didn't have a choice. So I'm having them like naturally agree with me. And I'm not really like selling the company as much. I'm selling myself, of course, but I'm really just like talking about the situation that they're in right now compared to the one we can put them in. Which one makes more sense?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
this one.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no high pressure tactics. It's all common sense. If you can just dumb down the deal and make it make sense and get out all of their like objections, the reason why someone wouldn't want to go with you or go forward with you is they just don't trust you. And that means that you didn't do a good enough job on the door or before the appointment, building value and actually being their friend, because they actually can feel that. It's really easy to tell when someone's like, I remember a lot of people when we first brought them out, I just like be sitting in their deal, like watching them close. And the homeowner would literally say, I know you want to get the deal, but I do have to do this. No one tells me that. Like no one's ever really told me that. Right.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to feel like you're pressuring them into the sale, like, or you're closing them. It should make so much sense where they just start initialing through forms. They can't wait for the panels to go up.
Love it. Let me ask you a few more things about just like this sales process here. What are there other questions that you love to use that work particularly well for you?
Yeah, there is a few questions that I, of course, like to use, and a couple of analogies I like to use. So I can go through a few of them. Like I said before, this is usually like when I'm on the door. When someone like gives me an objection, one last thing, like, what made you pick APS? I just know the answer to it. Did you sign a form with like APS saying raise the rates on me last year 12.4%? I know the answer to it. Would you rather own something or rent something? I know the answer to it. So I always ask questions that they know the answer to because they're going to start agreeing with me. He's right. He's right. He's right. Not many other salesmen do that. They like start saying like, oh, I'm not interested. What are you not interested in? Now they're in the driver's seat. So I just want to take it from point A to point B at all times. Another thing I use on the door as well, just to really like dumb it down, is if I knocked on your door the same exact way as I just did a minute ago, and I said, thank you so much for paying your electric bill on time. Here's $80 every single month. Own your power, build equity in your property. Don't rent it, and you actually can use a lot more electricity. Or you just say, hey, I just don't want the $80. No, but it's exactly what I'm saying it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Like if I ask for $1,000 down payment on the day that we go over your numbers, just don't do it. I'm not asking for a yes or no. I still want to make sure this is going to make sense for you. So I'm valuing their time, I'm valuing my time. I'm dumbing it down. I'm telling them if it's not going to make sense, you just don't have to do it. They, of course, love that. Another thing when I'm in meetings, I'll open it up to saying, neither myself or our company believes in high pressure tactics.
Yeah.
What do they think, right? Because a lot of times when they're in a sales process and they sit down, they're thinking this guy's for sure going to try to close me, right? So now they're thinking about something in the back of their head while I'm going through the actual information. So by saying that, it just opens it up and it's just like, we're just going to determine if this makes sense and it can only benefit your situation. If it can't, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Love that.
Yeah, so it's just breaking down everything.
Yeah, for sure. I want to hear how do you get objections on the table and how do you answer those objections?
Like on the when I'm closing or on the door?
Yeah, let's say, I mean, really either situation, I mean, like, how do you figure out what is holding someone back from making a decision? And then, when people give you an objection, a lot of people, they have the instinct to just answer it, and there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah, they get really defensive, right? So I agree and object. Like, I'm not interested. That's awesome. That's exactly why I'm here. And then I just brush by the objection and just keep going. But I don't really let people talk on the door until I get my whole entire pitch out. I'm a pretty fast talker. But the reason why is I like, if I pause, you have to pause at different times. If you pause and say solar, and they're going to be able to object you right away, and now you have to climb all the way back up the hill. So when I say the word solar, I'm saying it's way different. Trust me, I know you've heard it before. So I'm putting myself in their shoes at all times. But any type of objection that I ever get, that's awesome. That's exactly why I'm here. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yep, that's perfect. I'm not interested. I don't want to buy anything. Yep, that's why I'm here. It's awesome. And I just smile and I just keep going and going and going. It's just a smoke screen. Again, that's just like all belief in yourself and belief in the product. You're right, they're wrong. It's the same thing when Mikey Cavalieri tells me Tom Brady's better than Aaron Rodgers. I will get after this guy because that's just not true. Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. So every single time you go to that door, that's just what you have to remember. It's just in a smoke screen. They don't trust you. They want you off the door. Call it out. I call it everyone if they're not interested, don't just keep going on and on and on, right? Say, I can tell you're not interested. There's nothing to be interested. I don't got the panels in my pocket. It'd be pretty dang cool if I did, right? That's how I like go through everything. Any other situations that do you think would be beneficial for anyone that's listening, whether in the solar industry or not?
Yeah, a couple more things that come to mind. So one is qualifying people, right? Because I think a lot of people, they end up spending time, and this could be in any situation where you're kind of spending time trying to sell someone who's just not a buyer. They're just not the right buyer. They're not the right person for your product. How much, what do you do to sort of consider like the consumer product fit and see if it's actually the right sort of situation or the right person to spend your time with?
Yeah. So out of like 5 QLs, and people are like, why? Like, people still don't understand why I do this, but if I get like 6 appointments, most of the time I only sit 4, even if like the other 2 would sit. So I always have like a backup plan, of course. Like, for some reason, if I didn't have an appointment at this time, I could go and hopefully maybe try to close it. But I'm not going to waste my time, because if I'm wasting my time with someone that's just not a buyer, you have that gut feeling it's not going to work for them, or you can just tell that they're just not going to do it. That's an hour of like knocking doors where I could be setting up way more solid leads. So I would double book appointments for that person. So like if I had like a 7 o'clock, you have like that thing where I don't know if they're going to show, and then you have that guy, I'll just double book the appointments. You have 2 fallback plans instead of just 1. Because at that time where you have that empty hour that you just wasted, it's valuable. That could be $10,000, $5,000. That could be someone else that you could have helped out. So don't waste your time in this industry. You got to work efficiently.
Love it. Love it. All right. 2 more things. One is follow-up. What does follow-up mean to you? And how do you do follow-up with clients that, like they say they're interested, come back later, or they said no at the first, first pitch or the first consultation? How do you do follow-up?
I really don't do much follow-up. The reason why is because, one, I should have done it, like, should have got the job done the first time. I should have got that piece of information the first time. Unless for some reason you can honestly tell that they didn't have the bill, or like the husband actually takes care of it. But once you start having all this experience, who's like telling the truth and who's not. So I would go back, of course, maybe, but go backs are sometimes a waste of time, because again, I could be finding new leads as well. So often people drive their go back, sit in their car for 5-10 minutes. Again, it just comes down to accountability. If you're going to get out of the car and go to the go back and drive and then get out of the car again, like right away, then they're worth it. But again, it's just accountability. But some creative things that I used to do for appointments would be like, I'd send like $10 and say, here's a taste of your solar savings. So like on Cash App or Venmo, just to like kind of get them thinking. It's like, oh, $10, like, it is kind of a lot. That was pretty cool. It's unique. Another thing I do is I FaceTime homeowners all the time. So instead of calling them and just talking to them, I will literally just FaceTime them. And that's another thing. FaceTime, they can see my face. They can see like my body language, my facial expressions, my tonality, and they love that as well. What is another thing that I do? I never give my email. I never give my personal information. I don't do business cards. It's just another excuse for them to text you if they're having dinner, or they just feel lazy watching their show that they don't want you to show back up. Just another way for them to get out of it. So I don't give my personal information out ever. Never. I don't know the last time I've ever sent an email to someone. Wow. Again, like, what I do is, it's like, I'm efficient with what I do. I lay everything on the table. It's either for you, you're going to swallow your pride and sit with me, or you're just going to be that same person. You're never going to go solar. So it's just a waste of time and energy for me when I could be investing my time into my guys, and of course investing my time into different people that are interested.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's very counterintuitive. And I think for, there's some industries where like follow-up is everything, but in this industry where you can go find a deal every single day, right? Like there's such an abundance of turf and homes out there that can go solar, that, yeah, I think it's sort of a beginner mistake to spend so much time on someone who said they might be interested. And you sort of spend a lot of time tracking down those go backs because you're just afraid of facing more rejection out there in the field. And, when you could be just getting more people that are ready to go, more laydowns or more people that are just ready to go solar.
Exactly. And that's something that I see a lot in this industry as well, is people want to like essentially fake work. Where they're talking to a homeowner for 45 minutes when you like, there's like some lonely homeowner that just wants to talk to someone. Get off the
Yeah.
door, like move, right? Or instead they come back and say, I had a really good 45-minute conversation, but they just didn't want to go solar. Like, in the first 5-10 minutes if this person's actually like a good candidate for it. So it's not fake working or setting fake appointments where this person like isn't going to be worth your time, but you still just sit them just because you don't want to work. Like, that's how you see mediocre results. I literally only sit people I have full confidence in and people that have confidence in me. That's how you get to 68. You don't have to sit 150 appointments to get 68. You got to sit 90, right? If I can sit 90, I'll have 68, 100%. Because I'm sitting people that are worth my time. I'm sitting people that I know are going to qualify. If someone looks like they don't have a good credit score, just ask them. Don't waste your time. Don't get the plan drawn up. Don't drive an hour and then come back and turns out that they have a 450 like credit score. It doesn't make sense. You just wasted your time. But yeah, it's just always just adapting to different situations. And one thing that I want to kind of go over one last time is, if you're not putting yourself in the homeowner's shoes, you're doing something 1000% wrong. Absolutely. Call out on emotion. A lot of people want to always like tell the homeowner exactly what they want to hear. But in reality, you should be telling them what they don't want to hear. That's being transparent. In the back of your mind, when you're thinking something, but you're not actually saying it, they can tell, right? If you keep telling everyone how great this thing is, what's my initial thought if I'm the homeowner? There has to be a catch to this. What do you have to call out? I get it sounds too good to be true. There has to be a catch to this. It's literally why I drove a day and 8 hours to get out here. It's exactly what I'm telling you this. And if it's not, just don't do it, right? That's so much conviction. That's so much like confidence where they can tell I'm telling the truth. Before I set an appointment, like you pinky promise you like you'll be there. Again, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm driving an hour back to the office and taking 2 hours to draw up your plan. I need to make sure you're going to be there. Right there. I just told them that I'm not actually taking 3 hours. But with that, anyone that has a heart, if they know that you took 3 hours to draw it up, they're going to sit, right? If you get in the house, I get it all the time. I'm not going to sign it today. And at the very end of it, it's just like, oh, you just contradicted yourself after we already have the site survey scheduled,
Yeah.
So just calling out on emotion. It's important.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. All right. Last thing, and I think this is super important. Great place to hit on here. It's huge for this type of business is referrals, right? What's your philosophy on referrals? How do you get referrals?
When I was doing a ton of production without Nicole, like my assistant, it was a little harder to like keep following up and keep everything organized. But the way that I get referrals is installs, talking about promotions, being really crafty with the follow-up after I already have the deal done, or like they're coming up to install and it's rock solid. That's when I'll follow up saying, hey, whether it's a holiday or July 4th, I'll maybe even send a video saying like, hey, it's $1,000 cash for every referral from the 21st to the 31st. Your company has a great promotion. I even tell them, hey, I'm in a company competition, whatever. Like, do you have someone for me? Because a lot of these people I really have like developed such a good relationship where they know I care about them and they care about me, where they want to help me out. But I would say referrals during installs and really just asking people, I want you to be the neighborhood reference. I'm going to put a sign out inside of like your front yard. And we're like 3 contacts in your phone right now that would be interested right after I close them. So that's kind of one thing. Also, is just like really investigating when you're on the doors, even if like you have someone that already has solar. I sometimes get referrals from other companies, right? So like I'd knock the door and they went with someone else, they already had solar. And I would start asking like, what's this person's name? What's this person's name? What's this person's name? Are they homeowners? And then I'll ask what their name is. So I go right to the door and say her name's Betsy. Hey, Betsy just sent me on over. Kristen, whatever. And they're like, that's instant credibility. She was like really interested. She already did it. It doesn't matter. So like, that's another way I get referrals. You just got to be really crafty when you're on the doors.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, just so everyone is aware, like referrals are the name of the game. And like the hard work here that's being done is building those relationships and building real relationships. That is the high value skill of sales these days, like, especially in this like all digital world, if you can go right up to someone's doorstep and take them from a hell no to being like a close friend, someone that will invite you inside for dinner or for a beer or something like that. That is the value that you're generating. You're creating these relationships, and there's no reason why you can't turn one super solid relationship into 2, 3, 5 additional deals.
Absolutely. A lot of people have friends and family out here. The other part I would say is you always hear with referrals, like, hey, I gave someone like your contact information. Make sure you get their contact information, because I hear that all the time. So that's another thing. Like, I make sure that the person I helped out, I get their phone number of their friend. Otherwise, it's gonna be pretty tough. A lot of people don't reach out.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah.
Awesome, Chance. Well, I'm glad we went for another 30 minutes because that was straight gold, absolute fire, learning about your sales process and the way that you handle these different things. A lot of counterintuitive sort of bits of information there. And just so everyone is aware, you know, like you're our top producer right now at Better Earth. You're crushing deals, and your training. This training is all just free for everybody that joins. You know, like they're getting a
100%.
roadmap, they're getting a foundation where they can join a company, they can work with people like you who are doing this right now. What are you on pace to earn this year, or what's your goal to earn this year?
Yeah, I'm on pace for over 2 million this year. Yeah, over 2 million. So again, I started in the same spot, even worse than, of course, what we have today. So if you want to expedite your results or you're interested in the solar industry, reach out to me. It's going to be well worth your time. I promise you that.
Absolutely. Well, Chance, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all your story and how you approach this business and how you have been able to generate the success that you have. I think it's really great hearing it just sort of like in very candid terms with simple language, just like how this is possible for anyone. Before we wrap up, is there any final words of advice or just anything you want to say to the audience?
Last thing I would even say is, one, if you're like willing to make the jump, you know, school or whatever situation you're in is not right for you, whether it's even like Better Earth or anything, trust your gut, follow your heart, fail, fall on your face, you'll get right back up. Next thing, when it's coming down to whoever's in the industry, I would just say is just put the time in, put the work in, never settle, never get complacent, don't look at paychecks. If you're doing a lot of volume right now, don't settle. If you're not doing a lot of volume, it's always going to come back. But just know there's one thing you can control, and it's just how much time you put in and how much you actually want it. So if all that stuff aligns, you're going to be really, really successful. And again, you have all the opportunities here, and there's a lot of value that we can bring to, of course, expedite yourself to those results. So that's kind of the last thing I got, Pat. Be simple with everything you do. Life is amazing, and that's it. Be positive.
Oh yeah, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing all that.
You got it, stud. I appreciate it, brother. We'll talk
Absolutely.
here soon.